If you've ever walked into your bathroom, looked down at your toilet bowl, and seen that stubborn brown or grayish ring sitting right at the waterline, no matter how hard you scrub, I want you to know something right away. You are not doing anything wrong. You are not alone, and you are definitely not the only homeowner who has spent good money on bleach, brushes, and expensive cleaners, only to watch that ring come right back a few days later.
In over 4 decades of working inside people's homes, I have seen this exact problem more times than I can count, and I can tell you the truth,
Nobody else seems to want to say out loud. Scrubbing harder is not the answer. In fact, for most of the stains I see, scrubbing is the reason they never fully go away. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what causes that ring, why it keeps coming back even after a good cleaning, and the simple method I use myself that finally gets rid of it, sometimes even on rings that have been sitting there for 15 or 20 years.
My name is Mike Anderson. I'm a third-generation American master plumber, and for the last 45 years, I've made my living crawling under sinks, replacing water heaters.
And yes, staring down into more toilet bowls than I ever imagined I would when I first picked up a wrench as a young man working alongside my father. Over the years, I've worked on homes in small towns and big cities, old farmhouses with pipes older than I am, and brand new builds where everything is supposed to be perfect but somehow still has the same old problems. And if there's one thing I've learned in all that time, it's that most plumbing and cleaning issues people deal with aren't caused by some rare, expensive failure. They're caused by small, ordinary mistakes that almost every single homeowner makes, usually without even realizing it. I've watched folks spend real money on toilet bowl cleaners, pumice stones, and even calling out a plumber thinking they needed a whole new toilet, when the fix was something so simple it barely cost a dime. So today, I want to share with you the same approach I use in my own home and recommend to my family, my neighbors, and my customers. Let's start with why that ring shows up in the first place, because understanding the cause is really the key to getting rid of it for good. That stain sitting right at the waterline isn't dirt in the way most people think of dirt. In most homes, especially anywhere with what we call hard water, that ring is actually a buildup of minerals, mainly calcium and magnesium that are dissolved in your water supply. Every time your toilet is used and refills, a thin layer of that mineral-rich water sits right at that line, and over time, the water evaporates just slightly while the minerals stay behind. Layer after layer, week after week, those minerals harden and bond to the porcelain. In homes with well water or municipal water that runs a little harder than average, this can happen even faster. And here's the part that surprises a lot of people. Sometimes what looks like a stain isn't just mineral buildup at all. In humid bathrooms, especially ones without great ventilation, you can also get a thin layer of mold or mildew growing right along that same waterline, feeding off moisture and organic material. So really, that ring you're looking at might be one problem, or it might be two problems layered right on top of each other, which is exactly why regular bleach or a quick scrub with a brush often doesn't fully solve it. Now, I want to talk about the mistakes I see homeowners make, because I promise you, almost everybody makes at least one of these. The first mistake is scrubbing with a hard bristle brush, or even worse, a metal scouring pad, thinking more elbow grease will finally break through. In my experience, this usually just scratches the porcelain surface ever so slightly, and once that surface has tiny scratches, mineral deposits actually have an easier time gripping onto it the next time around, so the ring can come back faster and thicker than before. The second common mistake is using a strong cleaner for only a minute or two before rinsing. I understand the instinct. Nobody wants to stare at a dirty toilet bowl longer than they have to, but most cleaning products, whether it's a store-bought bowl cleaner or something more natural like vinegar, need real contact time to actually break down mineral deposits. A minute or two just isn't enough. The third mistake, and this one surprises people, is mixing cleaning products without realizing it. I've walked into more than a few bathrooms over the years where someone poured bleach in, followed shortly after by a vinegar-based cleaner or an ammonia-based product, not realizing those combinations can create dangerous fumes. I'll talk more about safety in a bit, but I want you to keep that one in mind right from the start. So let's talk about the science for a moment. in plain, simple terms, because understanding why something works makes you so much better at using it correctly. Vinegar is mildly acidic, and that acidity is what allows it to slowly dissolve calcium and mineral deposits, the same way it can dissolve buildup inside a coffee maker or a shower head. It's not an instant reaction. It's a slow, steady breakdown, which is why giving it enough time sitting on the stain matters so much more than how hard you scrub afterward. Baking soda works differently. It's mildly abrasive, but more importantly, it helps neutralize odors and gives you just enough gentle scrubbing texture to lift loosened material without scratching your porcelain. Hydrogen peroxide is another one I like, especially for a ring that includes some mold or mildew, because it has natural disinfecting properties alongside its mild bleaching effect. Even plain hot water plays a role, because heat helps loosen mineral bonds just enough to give your cleaning products a head start. Understanding this is important because it explains exactly why simply pouring a cleaner in and swishing it around for 30 seconds rarely gets you the results you're hoping for. Now, here's something almost nobody tells you, and it took me years on the job to really understand it myself. The waterline ring you see above the water is often only part of the story. There is frequently a second ring or buildup just below the visible waterline, and even a small amount hidden under the siphon jets or along the inside curve of the bowl, places you simply can't see just by glancing in. That hidden buildup is often what causes a ring to reappear so quickly after you've cleaned the visible part. I've had customers tell me they scrubbed until their arms were tired, and the ring was back within a week. In almost every one of those cases, when I looked closer, the real culprit was buildup they couldn't see, quietly reintroducing minerals into the water every time the toilet refilled. Once you understand that, the whole approach to solving this problem changes. So let's get into the method I personally use and recommend, the one that addresses both the visible ring and what's hiding just out of sight. First, here's what you'll need. White vinegar, about 2 cups. Baking soda, roughly half a cup. An old toilet brush you don't mind using strictly for this job. Rubber gloves, and if you're dealing with a particularly stubborn or long-standing ring, a bottle of hydrogen peroxide as an optional extra step. Start by turning off the water supply valve behind the toilet and flushing to lower the water level in the bowl as much as possible. This step matters because it exposes more of that hidden buildup below the normal waterline, giving your cleaner direct contact with it instead of diluting into standing water. Once the water level is down, pour the vinegar directly around the bowl, making sure it coats the ring area and runs down along the sides and toward the base where hidden buildup often collects. Follow that by sprinkling the baking soda over the same areas. You'll notice a gentle fizzing reaction, and that's completely normal. That reaction is the acid and the baking soda working together to help lift and loosen mineral deposits from the surface. Here's where patience really pays off. Let that mixture sit for a full 15 minutes at minimum. If the ring has been there for years, I'd actually recommend closer to 30 minutes, and in some of the toughest cases I've handled personally, I've let it sit for a couple of hours, even overnight, with the water shut off. During this waiting period, the acidity is working continuously to break the bond between the mineral deposits and the porcelain without you having to do a single thing. After the waiting period, take your toilet brush and scrub in a circular motion, focusing extra attention right along the waterline and slightly underneath it. You should notice the deposits coming away far more easily than with a typical quick scrub because the material has already been loosened rather than you trying to force it off. If you're dealing with a stain that includes some mold or mildew discoloration, this is where that optional hydrogen peroxide comes in. After your vinegar and baking soda scrub, apply the hydrogen peroxide directly to any remaining discoloration. Let it sit another 10 minutes, then scrub once more and flush. Turn your water supply back on, let the tank refill, and flush a final time to rinse everything away. In many cases, you'll see a dramatic improvement immediately, and with a repeat treatment a few days later for particularly old stains, most homeowners tell me the ring is completely gone. Let me share a few professional tips I've picked up over the years that make a real difference. First, I always recommend doing this treatment right before bed if you can, so the mixture has all night to work uninterrupted. Second, if your home has notably hard water, I'd suggest repeating this deeper treatment about once a month rather than waiting for a visible ring to reappear, because staying ahead of mineral buildup is always easier than removing it after it's hardened for months. Third, a lot of folks don't realize their toilet's rim jets, those small holes just under the rim where fresh water enters the bowl, can also collect mineral deposits and slow down proper flushing. Taking an old toothbrush to those rim holes every few months, along with your regular cleaning, keeps your whole system working the way it should. And fourth, I always tell my customers, if you're on well water or know you have hard water, consider a mild daily toilet bowl treatment rather than an occasional deep clean, because prevention really is the easiest form of maintenance there is. Now, mistakes to avoid. Never use a metal scraper, a razor blade, or an abrasive scouring pad directly on porcelain, because even though it might seem satisfying to see stains come off quickly, those tools can create tiny scratches that make future buildup worse and can even damage the glaze permanently. Avoid combining bleach with vinegar or any ammonia-based product, because that combination can create toxic fumes that are genuinely dangerous to breathe in an enclosed bathroom. And don't skip the waiting time, because rushing this process is the single biggest reason people feel like nothing worked, when really the cleaner simply never got the time it needed to do its job. On safety, I want to be clear and direct with you, because I've seen the results of cutting corners here. Always wear rubber gloves when handling vinegar, baking soda, or hydrogen peroxide combinations, especially if you have sensitive skin. Keep your bathroom door open or a fan running for ventilation while cleaning, particularly if you're using hydrogen peroxide alongside other products. Never, under any circumstances, mix bleach with vinegar or ammonia-based cleaners, as I mentioned earlier, since that combination can create hazardous fumes that are genuinely dangerous to breathe in an enclosed bathroom. And always keep all cleaning products safely stored away from children and pets, and always read the label on any commercial product before combining it with something else, since formulas can vary between brands. For long-term maintenance, here's what I personally recommend. If you're on hard water, plan for a deeper vinegar and baking soda treatment about once a month. A quick daily swish with a regular toilet brush and mild cleaner helps prevent buildup from ever having a chance to harden in the first place. And every few months, take a few extra minutes to check those rim jets I mentioned earlier, since keeping them clear helps your toilet flush properly and reduces the amount of standing mineral-rich water sitting at the rim. So, let's bring this all together. That stubborn ring around your toilet bowl is almost always caused by mineral deposits from hard water, sometimes combined with mold or mildew in bathrooms with less ventilation, and it tends to hide both above and below the visible water line. The mistake most homeowners make is scrubbing too hard and too fast, without giving cleaners the contact time they actually need to break that buildup down. By lowering the water level, applying vinegar and baking soda, letting it sit for at least 15 minutes, and following up with hydrogen peroxide if needed, you give yourself a real chance at fully removing even stains that have been there for years, in many cases without a single dollar spent on expensive specialty products. With regular monthly maintenance, most of my customers tell me they rarely see that ring return at all. Keeping your home clean and running smoothly doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. After 45 years working as a plumber, I've learned again and again that simple, consistent maintenance prevents the vast majority of costly repairs and headaches down the road. I hope these tips help you keep your bathroom cleaner, your plumbing healthier, and your home a little easier to take care of. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me today, and I'll see you in the next one. If you found today's tips helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. Every week, I share practical home maintenance advice I've learned over 45 years as a professional plumber, so you can avoid costly repairs and keep your home in great shape for years to come.